At 11:43 p.m. on a freezing Friday night, Emma Carter deleted the last dating app on her phone. She stared at the screen for several seconds before pressing delete account. Then she whispered something she hadn't said in years. "I'm done begging someone to choose me." She placed her phone face down. For the first time in a long time, the silence in her apartment didn't scare her. It felt like relief. Emma was 34 years old. She had been engaged once, in love twice, heartbroken more times than she cared to admit. And she had spent the last decade believing that if she just became a little prettier, a little thinner, a little more successful, a little less emotional, or simply more patient, eventually the right man would appear. Instead, every relationship seemed to teach her the same lesson. She was always the one chasing texts, chasing explanations, chasing commitment, chasing apologies, chasing men who liked having her but weren't sure they wanted her. And that night, something inside Emma finally broke. Not dramatically, not angrily. Quietly, she opened the Notes app on her phone and typed, "I release every relationship that requires me to abandon myself." Then she added, "I am no longer chasing love. I am becoming ready for it." She didn't know it yet, but those two sentences would change her entire life. Because 37 days later, Emma would walk into a place she'd never planned to visit. And there, in the most unexpected circumstances, she would meet a man she'd somehow been preparing for without even knowing his name. But the shocking part wasn't who he was. It was why he was there, and what he had been carrying with him for almost 15 years. Emma grew up in a small town outside Columbus, Ohio. Her parents had been married for 39 years. Her mother, Linda, was a school counselor. Her father, Robert, owned a small hardware store. They weren't rich. They didn't travel much. They drove the same cars for years and lived in the same 3-bedroom house where Emma and her younger brother had grown up. But there was something about her parents' marriage that Emma had always admired. Her father never forgot her mother's birthday. Her mother always saved him the corner piece of lasagna because she knew he liked it. When her father worked late, Linda left the porch light on. When Linda had a difficult day at school, Robert made tea without being asked. They weren't perfect. They argued. Sometimes they didn't speak for hours. But neither of them ever made the other wonder, "Do you still want me?" Emma thought that was what love was supposed to feel like. Safe, certain, quiet. She didn't realize how rare that could be. At 22, she met her first serious boyfriend, Tyler. He was handsome, confident, and funny. He made Emma feel like she was the most interesting woman in the room. They dated for almost 4 years. Emma thought they would marry. Then Tyler got a job in California. "Okay, you could come with me. Do you want me to?" Tyler hesitated. That hesitation told her everything. "No," she whispered. He looked down. "I don't know what I want." Emma nodded. "Then go figure it out." He left. She cried for months. But eventually she moved on. Or thought she did. 3 years later, she met Daniel. Daniel was different. At least that's what she thought. He was responsible, kind, successful. He talked about buying a house. He talked about children. He told Emma she was the woman he could see himself growing old with. After a year and a half, he proposed. Emma said yes. She told everyone. Her mother cried. Her father hugged Daniel. Her friends started planning the wedding. Emma believed her life had finally arrived at the place she'd been waiting for. Then, 6 months before the wedding, Daniel changed. He became distant. He stopped calling. He worked late. He started protecting his phone. Emma noticed. Of course she noticed. But she was terrified of what noticing might mean. One night she asked him, "Are you happy?" Daniel didn't answer. "Daniel?" "I don't know." Her heart dropped. "What does that mean?" "I think I need time." "Time for what?" He looked at the floor. "To figure out if this is what I really want." Emma stared at her engagement ring. "After everything?" He didn't answer. 3 weeks later, she discovered he was seeing another woman. His coworker. Emma found out through a mutual friend. She confronted him. Daniel didn't deny it. "I never meant to hurt you." Emma laughed through tears. You just didn't want to be the bad guy. That's not fair. No, she said quietly. It isn't. She removed her engagement ring, placed it on the kitchen counter, and walked out. That was the night Emma learned something she would carry for years. Sometimes people don't break your heart because you weren't enough. They break it because they were never capable of giving you what you were asking for. After Daniel, Emma dated again. And again. And again. There was Chris, who wanted something casual. Matt, who said he wasn't ready. Jason, who disappeared for 3 weeks and returned with, "Hey, stranger." There was Andrew, who talked about marriage but never made plans. There was Michael, who said he loved her but refused to define the relationship. And then there was Stephen. Stephen was the one Emma couldn't explain. He was charming, attentive, romantic. He sent flowers. He remembered little things. He made her laugh. But whenever she asked where they were going, he changed the subject. Emma stayed anyway. For 14 months. She told herself, he'll come around. She told herself, he just needs time. She told herself, maybe I'm being too demanding. Then one evening, after Stephen canceled dinner for the 4th time in a month, Emma sat alone at a restaurant table. The waiter approached. "Are you waiting for someone?" Emma looked at the empty chair. She almost lied. Instead, she said, "No." The waiter hesitated. "Would you like me to box this up?" Emma nodded. Yes. She went home, sat on the floor, and cried, not because Stephen had canceled, but because she finally understood. She had spent years sitting in empty chairs, waiting for people who had never promised to sit down. That night, Emma called her mother. "Mom? What's wrong?" "I think something is wrong with me." Her mother's voice softened. "Emma, nothing is wrong with you. Then why does nobody stay?" There was silence. Then Linda said something Emma would never forget. "Maybe you've been choosing people you have to convince." Emma wiped her eyes. "What does that mean?" "It means you keep trying to earn love from people who don't know how to give it." Emma was quiet. Her mother continued. "You don't need to become more lovable. You need to stop accepting relationships that make you feel unlovable." Emma cried harder, because deep down she knew her mother was right. The next morning, Emma made a decision. She wasn't going to date. Not for a month. Not for 3 months. She didn't know how long. She simply knew she needed to stop. She deleted every dating app. She unfollowed exes. She stopped checking who viewed her stories. She stopped analyzing text messages. She stopped asking friends, "Do you think he likes me?" Instead, she started asking, "Do I like the way I feel around him?" The difference was enormous. She joined a yoga studio, started taking long walks, visited her parents every Sunday. She began volunteering at a community food pantry. She signed up for a pottery class. She traveled alone to Maine. She started reading again. And one night, while sitting beside the ocean, she wrote in a journal, "What would healthy love look like?" She thought about her parents. Then she wrote, "Someone who communicates, someone who keeps promises, someone who doesn't make me compete for attention, someone who respects my boundaries, someone who wants a family, someone who can admit when he's wrong, someone who is kind when nobody is watching, someone who doesn't make love feel like an exam I have to pass." Then she added something unexpected. "Someone who has healed enough to love me without needing me to rescue him." She stared at the page. Then she wrote, "I don't want to manifest a specific person. I want to become available for the right relationship." That became her new rule. 37 days after deleting the dating apps, Emma received a phone call. It was from her friend Sarah. "Are you free Saturday?" Emma laughed. "Why?" "I need help." "With what?" "My grandmother's house." Emma frowned. "What about it?" Sarah's grandmother had recently passed away. The house had been sitting empty. Sarah needed help sorting through belongings before putting it on the market. "I could really use another pair of hands." Emma agreed. Saturday morning, she drove to an old neighborhood on the east side of Columbus. The house was beautiful. Small, white, with a porch covered in flower pots. Sarah opened the door. "Thank you for coming." Emma hugged her. Of course. They spent hours sorting boxes, old photographs, Christmas decorations, books. kitchen dishes, letters. At around 3 in the afternoon, Sarah found a wooden trunk in the attic. "What is this?" Emma wiped dust from the lid. "Open it." Inside were dozens of old envelopes. Some were yellowed with age. Others were tied with string. Sarah pulled out the first one. "Look at this." It was addressed to Mr. Thomas Carter. Sarah frowned. "Who's Thomas Carter?" Emma shrugged. "No idea." Then they heard footsteps downstairs. A man's voice called, "Sarah?" Sarah froze. "Oh, who is that?" "My cousin." A man appeared at the bottom of the stairs. He was tall, dark-haired, wearing a gray sweater and work boots. He looked around 37. He held an old toolbox in one hand. Sarah smiled. "Emma, this is my cousin Noah." Emma looked at him. Noah smiled. "Hi. Hi." Sarah pointed toward the trunk. "We found these." Noah's expression changed. "What?" "The letters." He climbed the stairs quickly. He looked at the trunk, then at Emma. "Where did you find that?" "Up here." Noah slowly sat down. He picked up one envelope. His hands began trembling. Emma noticed. "Are you okay?" He nodded. "Yeah." But his voice didn't sound convincing. Sarah asked, "What are these?" Noah looked at the letters. "My grandfather's." "What are they?" He swallowed. "Letters he wrote to my grandmother." Emma smiled. "That sounds sweet." Noah shook his head. "He never sent them." Emma looked at him. "Why?" Noah stared at the envelope. "Because she died before he could." The attic became silent. Noah told them the story. His grandfather, Thomas, had met his grandmother, Evelyn, when they were teenagers. They fell in love. But Thomas was drafted into the military. He was sent overseas. He wrote Evelyn every week. Hundreds of letters. Then, during his deployment, Evelyn's father became ill. She had to stay home. She stopped writing. Thomas assumed she'd moved on. When he returned, he learned she had married someone else. He never confronted her. He never asked why. He simply accepted the story. Years later, he discovered the truth. Evelyn had never stopped loving him. Her letters had been intercepted by her father. Thomas had spent 45 years believing she had abandoned him. By the time he learned the truth, Evelyn was gone. So Thomas began writing letters to her. One every birthday, one every anniversary, one every Christmas. He never mailed them. He kept them in the trunk. Noah looked at Emma. "My grandfather died 6 months ago." Emma looked down at the letters. "How many are there?" 47, Sarah whispered. "That's heartbreaking." Noah nodded. "It is." Then Emma noticed something. One envelope was newer than the others. It was dated only 3 months before Thomas died. She picked it up. "This one?" Noah looked at it. "I haven't opened it." "Why not?" He shook his head. "My grandfather told me never to open his letters." Emma placed it back. "Then don't." Noah looked at her. "You wouldn't?" "No." "Why?" "Because if someone leaves something behind with a boundary attached to it, I think you honor that." Noah smiled. "That's exactly what my grandmother would have said." Emma smiled. She didn't know why, but something about him felt familiar. Not physically, emotionally. Like she didn't have to perform. Like silence wasn't awkward. Like she could breathe. They worked together for another 2 hours. At sunset, Noah carried a box downstairs. Emma followed. Before she left, he said, "Thank you." "For what?" "For not opening the letter." She smiled. "It wasn't mine." He looked at her. "Most people would have." "Maybe." Then Noah said, "Can I buy you coffee sometime?" Emma paused. Her old instincts immediately started screaming. Don't get attached. Don't assume. Don't chase. She smiled. "Sure." Noah took out his phone. They exchanged numbers. He didn't say, "I'll text you." He didn't say, "Maybe sometime." He simply said, "Thursday?" Emma smiled. "Thursday works." Thursday came. Noah picked her up at 6. He arrived 5 minutes early. He brought no flowers, no rehearsed speech, just a simple, "Ready?" Emma smiled. "Yeah." They went to a small Italian restaurant. They talked for 3 hours. Noah told her about his work as a restoration contractor. Emma told him about her job as a nonprofit program manager. They talked about family, travel, books, childhood memories. Then Noah asked, "What happened with your last relationship?" Emma hesitated. "Why do you want to know?" "Because I want to understand you." She looked at him. Nobody had ever asked that way before. So she told him. Not every detail, but enough. Noah listened. When she finished, he said, "You deserved better." Emma smiled sadly. "I know that now." He looked at her. "Good. What about you?" He took a breath. "I was married once." Emma waited. "We divorced 4 years ago." "Why?" "She wanted a life I didn't." "What kind?" "Everything was about status. Bigger house, better car, more money, more appearances." He shook his head. "I wanted peace." Emma smiled. "That sounds familiar." He looked at her. "You've been searching for peace too?" "For a long time." Their relationship developed slowly. Noah never disappeared. If he was busy, he said so. If he was upset, he explained. If he needed space, he communicated it. He didn't make Emma guess. And that was strange for her. At first, healthy love made her nervous. One night, Noah didn't answer his phone for 4 hours. Emma stared at her screen. Her old fear returned. Maybe he's losing interest. Maybe there's someone else. Maybe I imagined everything. She almost sent, "Are we okay?" Then she stopped. She remembered her journal. "I don't chase." She put the phone away. 2 hours later, Noah called. "I'm sorry." "What happened?" "My brother called." "My dad fell." Emma sat up. "Is he okay?" "He's fine. I stayed at the hospital." She exhaled. "I'm glad." Noah was silent. "Were you worried?" Emma hesitated. "Yes. I should have told you." "It's okay." "No." His voice softened. "It's not." He continued. "You shouldn't have to guess where you stand with me." Emma closed her eyes. That sentence hit her harder than any romantic declaration. Because it was exactly what she had wanted. Not perfection. Consideration. 3 months later, Noah invited Emma to meet his family. His mother hugged her immediately. His younger sister teased him. His father shook her hand and said, "So, you're the woman who finally got him to smile at his phone." Emma laughed. Noah looked embarrassed. "Dad?" Everyone laughed. Later that evening, Noah's mother pulled Emma aside. "I've never seen him this happy." Emma smiled. "I'm happy too." His mother touched her arm. "Just be patient with him." Emma frowned. "Why?" She hesitated. "Because he's still carrying something." "What?" His mother looked toward the hallway. "The letters." That night, Emma asked Noah, "You still have your grandfather's letters?" He nodded. "Of course." "Have you opened the last one?" "No." "Why?" "Because I promised him." Emma nodded. Then Noah said something unexpected. "Sometimes I think he was waiting for me to understand something." "What?" "That love doesn't disappear just because someone dies." Emma smiled. "Maybe." Noah looked at her. "My grandfather spent 45 years believing he had missed his chance." Emma's expression softened. "That's a long time." "Yeah." He took her hand. "I don't want to do that." She understood immediately. Neither did she. 6 months after their first meeting, Emma's birthday arrived. Noah told her he had planned something. He drove her to a lake outside the city. There was a picnic. Blankets. Candles. A basket of food. Emma smiled. "You did all this?" "Yeah." They sat beside the water. Noah handed her a small box. Emma opened it. Inside was a key. She looked confused. "What is this?" "My house." She stared at him. "What?" "I want you to have a key." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Noah." He shook his head. "I'm not asking you to move in." She laughed through tears. "I was going to say you were moving too fast." "I know." He smiled. "But I want you to know that there's a place for you." Emma looked at the key, then at him. "Why?" "Because you deserve to know you're wanted." She cried. Not because of the key, because for years she'd been asking for exactly this, and now someone was offering it without being asked. A year after they met, Noah proposed, but not before asking her father. Robert sat on the porch. Noah stood in front of him. "I love your daughter." Robert smiled. "I know. I want to marry her." Robert looked at him. "Do you make her feel safe?" "Yes." "Do you tell her the truth?" "I try." "Do you listen when she's angry?" Noah laughed. "I'm learning." Robert smiled. "Then you're ready?" Noah asked. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. What made you stay married to Linda for 40 years? Robert looked toward the kitchen window. "Because every day I decided again." Noah nodded. "Thank you." Robert put a hand on his shoulder. "Don't make marriage about finding the right person." Noah waited. "Make it about being the right person for each other." Noah proposed on a Sunday morning. No fancy restaurant, no crowd, just the two of them in Emma's apartment. He cooked pancakes, burned half of them. Emma laughed. Then he placed a ring beside her coffee cup. She stared at it. "Noah." He took her hands. "I don't promise you a perfect life." Emma smiled through tears. "Good. I don't promise we'll never fight." "Good. I don't promise we'll always know what we're doing." She laughed. "Definitely good." He smiled. "But I promise you this." He squeezed her hands. "I will never make you chase me." Emma broke down. He continued. "I will never make you wonder if I want you. I will never make you compete for my attention. And if I ever hurt you, I will sit down and listen." Emma was crying now. "Because I don't want a love story where one person is always running after the other." He looked into her eyes. "I want us walking together." Then he opened the ring box. "Will you marry me?" Emma whispered. "Yes." The wedding was held at her parents' backyard. There were 80 guests, string lights, white flowers, her father's old hardware store friends, her mother's former students, Noah's family, Emma's closest friends. As she walked toward him, she noticed something in his hand, a small envelope. After the ceremony, he gave it to her. She opened it. Inside was a photocopy of an old letter, one of Thomas Carter's letters. Emma looked at Noah. "Why?" He smiled. "I finally opened the last one." Her eyes widened. "You did?" He nodded. "What did it say?" Noah looked at the letter. "My grandfather wrote that he had spent most of his life believing love was something you could lose because of circumstances." He swallowed. Then he wrote that maybe love wasn't about getting the perfect ending. Emma waited. "He said the real tragedy wasn't losing the person you loved." "What was it?" "Spending your life refusing to love again because you were afraid it might happen twice." Emma began crying. Noah touched her cheek. "He wanted me to know that." She looked down at the letter. Then she understood why the trunk had been waiting, why she had found it, why Noah had been there, why the story had somehow crossed their paths. Not because the universe had written every detail, but because two people had reached the same lesson from completely different directions. Don't let an old heartbreak decide what your future is allowed to become. Years later, Emma would sometimes tell people she manifested her soulmate. But when they asked how, she never said crystals. She never talked about lucky numbers. She never claimed she had magically summoned Noah into existence. She told them the truth. "I stopped chasing." They always asked, "What do you mean?" She would smile. "I stopped chasing people who were unsure about me. I stopped confusing attention with affection. I stopped thinking rejection meant I wasn't worthy. I stopped trying to convince someone to love me. And I started building a life I genuinely loved." Then she'd say, "That changed everything." 5 years into their marriage, Emma and Noah were sitting on the porch one evening. Their daughter Lily was playing in the yard. Emma was holding an old journal. Noah noticed. "What's that?" "My manifestation journal." He laughed. "You still have that?" "Of course." She opened it. There was the original sentence. "I release every relationship that requires me to abandon myself." Noah read it, then looked at her. "That's powerful." She smiled. "You know what else I wrote?" "What?" She turned the page. I am no longer chasing love. I am becoming ready for it. Noah smiled. You were ready? Emma shook her head. No. She looked at him. I was becoming ready. He kissed her forehead. Same thing. She closed the journal. Then Lily ran onto the porch. Mom! Emma looked up. What? Dad said I could have ice cream. Noah immediately said, I did not say that. Lily laughed. Emma laughed. And for a moment she looked around. The house. The porch. Her husband. Her daughter. The ordinary evening. And she remembered the woman she'd once been. The woman who had sat alone at restaurants. The woman who had stared at her phone waiting for messages. The woman who had wondered why nobody chose her. The woman who had believed love had somehow skipped her. Emma wished she could go back and tell that woman something. She would say, You're not too much. You're not difficult to love. You're not behind. You're not being punished. And you don't have to chase someone into choosing you. She would tell her, Go home. Sleep. Cry if you need to. Then build your life. Take yourself to dinner. Travel. Laugh. Make friends. Learn who you are. Set boundaries. And when love finally comes, don't ask whether they like you. Ask whether their presence feels safe. One winter morning, Emma received an unexpected package. It was from Sarah. Inside was a photograph. The attic. The wooden trunk. The old letters. On the back, Sarah had written, Funny how life works. Emma smiled. She showed Noah. He stared at the picture. Do you ever wonder? About what? What would have happened if you hadn't gone to Sarah's house? Emma smiled. Sometimes. What do you think? I think eventually we'd have met. Noah raised an eyebrow. That's confident. She laughed. Maybe. Then she thought about it. No, she corrected herself. I don't know if we were destined. Noah nodded. But I do know something. What? We were both ready. That was the part Emma had misunderstood all those years ago. She had thought manifestation meant asking the universe to bring someone to her. But perhaps it was something deeper. Perhaps manifestation was deciding what you would no longer accept. Perhaps it was healing enough to recognize the difference between love and loneliness. Perhaps it was becoming the person who could say, I would rather be alone than be loved halfway. Perhaps it was trusting that walking away from the wrong relationship didn't mean you'd never find another one. It meant you'd finally made room for the right one. And perhaps the soulmate wasn't someone who arrived to complete the empty spaces. Perhaps the soulmate was someone who arrived after you'd learned how to fill those spaces yourself. Emma never stopped believing in love. She simply stopped chasing it. And the moment she stopped running after people who didn't want to stay, she finally had room for someone who did. Someone who didn't make her question her worth. Someone who didn't disappear. Someone who didn't keep her waiting. Someone who didn't need convincing. Someone who showed up. Again. And again. And again. Until forever stopped sounding like a promise. And started feeling like an ordinary Tuesday morning. Years later, Lily asked her mother, Mom, how did you know Dad was the one? Emma smiled. She looked toward the kitchen. Noah was making breakfast. He was singing terribly. Lily laughed. Mom? Emma looked back at her daughter. I didn't know immediately. You didn't? No. How did you know? Emma thought for a moment, then said, I stopped asking whether he would choose me. Lily frowned. Why? Because I realized I had to choose myself first. Lily nodded. And then? Emma smiled. Then I met your dad. She paused. And he didn't ask me to become someone else so he could love me. He loved who I already was. Lily smiled. That sounds like love. Emma looked toward the kitchen. It is. Noah walked into the room holding 2 plates. I heard my name. Emma laughed. We were talking about you. Good things? The best things. He smiled. Then he kissed her forehead. Just like he had done 1,000 times. No grand gesture. No fireworks. No dramatic music. Just a small act of love in an ordinary kitchen. And Emma realized that this was the part she had been chasing all her life. Not a perfect romance, not a fairy tale, not someone who would rescue her. Just this: a peaceful morning, a man who stayed, a family, a life she no longer wanted to escape from, and a heart that had finally stopped asking, "When will someone love me?" Because now she knew the answer. It began the day she finally learned to love herself enough to walk away from anything that demanded she become smaller. And when she did, love didn't have to be chased. It found her. Not where she expected. Not when she expected. But exactly when she was finally ready to recognize it. And that was the shocking truth Emma had spent years learning. Sometimes the love you've been begging for isn't waiting at the end of the road. Sometimes it's waiting on the other side of the moment you finally decide to stop running after the wrong people. So if you're listening to Emma's story tonight and wondering whether love will ever find you, remember this: you are not late. You are not broken. You are not too difficult to love. And you don't have to convince the right person to stay. Build your life. Heal your heart. Raise your standards. Learn your worth. And when someone comes along who brings peace instead of confusion, consistency instead of mixed signals, and partnership instead of pursuit, don't ignore it just because it doesn't feel like the chaos you're used to. Sometimes healthy love feels strange at first, because you've spent so long mistaking anxiety for chemistry. Sometimes the greatest love story begins when you stop chasing. And sometimes the person you've been waiting for isn't the person you manifest. They're the person you finally become ready to recognize.